Thank you for joining us this evening. This is a regularly scheduled Greer City Council meeting scheduled and convened here on July the 22nd, 2014. Having called the meeting to order, I would ask, if you will, to join me as we stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I will lead us in an invocation. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we thank you for this wonderful country that you have given us, that we have just pledged our allegiance to, and we thank you for the liberties that brings as well too. We thank you for those men and women that defend those liberties and ask your blessings upon them. Mm-hmm. We ask your blessings as well on those who govern, whether it be at the federal level or the state, the county, or here at the municipal level. Lord, we ask for insight, guidance, and direction to do your will as we seek to make whatever area that we have the opportunity and privilege to govern, to move towards a better quality of life for our citizens. Lord, help us to be mindful of the needs of every one of our citizens, and certainly for the least among us, that we would be cognizant of their needs as we seek to lead this city. Thank you for bringing us here to safely together this evening. We ask that you will give us insight and understanding as we consider the matters before us this evening. And we ask all these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
With that, we'll move to the public forum portion of our meeting tonight. Ms. Duncan, do we have those to appear in public forum?
No, sir.
Since we don't have anybody to appear in public forum, we'll move to the minutes of the council meeting. Council, you've got the minutes from July the 8th in the packet this evening. I'll entertain a motion that they be received.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any items of note for the clerk? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council, it is certainly a privilege that we have set aside a time this evening to recognize those employees that have reached milestones in terms of their length of employment with the city. We are always happy to have that opportunity and to spend a few minutes recognizing those folks and thanking them for what they do for the city. And with that, I would like to ask the administrator if he would join me as we give special recognition to some of our employees this evening. We do a resolution for our employees as part of the recognition, and this resolution reads, a resolution recognizing and commending City of Greer employees, and whereas the City of Greer endeavors to recognize and reward its dedicated and faithful employees, and whereas Robin Bayou has served in the Parks and Recreation Department for 5 years, Vicki Adams has served in the Administration Department for 10 years, Brandon McMahon has served with the Police Department for 10 years, Brenda Beach has served in the police department for 10 years, and Barry Davis has served for 25 years in the fire department. Whereas these employees have served in a distinguished and professional manner, now be it therefore resolved that the City Council of the City of Greer, South Carolina, in a meeting duly assembled, wishes to officially recognize and commend these employees for their distinguished and dedicated service which they have performed. Be it further resolved that the City of Greer hereby rewards these dedicated employees with a certificate of appreciation an administrative day off with pay approved this the 22nd day of July 2014. I will call these folks to the front, and then if you will join me in a round of applause to recognize them. We'll ask them to stay up here with us. Robin, with our It's all right, just practicing, weren't you?
Get ready.
Vicki Adams. Brandon McMahon. Brenda Beach. Now you can clap a little bit if you want.
I can't clap and take pictures.
Stay with us here. Yeah. Barry Davis. Hold on, let's pull in just a little bit right here. And if you would now join me in giving these folks a round.
Back on. I think we just broadcasted live on some TV station. We'll move into departmental reports. Council, you've got departmental reports contained in your packet this evening. We always urge you to take a look at those and to check those out, and you'll see an activity report there for the month of June that are contained in the packets this time. And as you can tell this evening, as our our coast department makes its way there to the podium, I think we're going to have an overview from the Building and Development Standards area. So with that, then we'll turn it over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing us to be here tonight. What we want to present to you is our new GIS online version. We kind of previewed this at your retreat that you had a while back, and it showed you some features that we were looking at. We're now ready to finally roll that out to the public and make it available online. There are a couple of different versions of it. Justin here has worked very, very hard over the past couple of years to make this happen. He's been a very integral part of what's taking place with this program, and without him, a lot of this would not be happening, and I owe him a great debt for doing that. But we already have a couple of revisions that he's done and we have out there running. And I'm just going to kind of let Justin walk through the program because he knows the ins and outs a whole lot better than I do, and show you what we're currently running, and then we'll get into the online version and what's available to the public and information for you. All right, go ahead, Justin.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. The first thing that we want to show you, this is already live, this is available, this is on our website right now. I got with Ann Cunningham with Parks and Recreation and talked to her to see if we can try to come up with a facilities tour. Basically on the website, they already had all of the different Parks and Rec facilities that the city offered, but we wanted to make something a little more interactive, a little more easy on the eyes. So if you go to the City Greer webpage, go to the departments. If you go to facilities, there used to be a large kind of just drop-down menu here with all of them listed, but we now have this facility tour. So when you go to it, it's essentially much the same information, except it's now in a kind of a scrollable, interactive map. The old pages are still up, so if you click on them, they will take you to the information as far as rental information and stuff that was out there before. But it also has, yeah, there's so many tabs open. There it is. And there's also an interactive map on here that allows the user to just see where it's located on the map. It's something simple. It's just taking the information that we had before and making it in a more presentable manner. We also have another two. That's not what I wanted. Where is it at? We also have a online boundary and an online zoning map that are currently out there available. If you go again to departments and building and development standards and planning and zoning, you will see. Oh, yes, yeah. As you'll see, the first two options here, you have your city boundary and your interactive zoning map. These are simple. Let's get to it. This right here is the boundary map. It just has obviously the city limits, the GSP environs, and as you scroll in, it's fully interactive. And as it loads, let's get down a little bit more. As it loads, well, I guess it's not one. There we go. Come on.
It is moving a lot of data when it's doing this, as we zoom in and out. It does take it a second to transfer.
There we go.
Data.
Had it poked a little bit, but it does have the parcel information on there, so you can just click on there, get your owner information. You can search by parcel number for both Greenville and Spartanburg County. You can change the base maps, relatively just simple, very, very basic GIS viewer. And it's very similar with let's get to where is the zoning map? There's so many tabs. Well, there's a zoning one that is also on there.
We got about 10 tabs.
Good Lord. Let's just do this. Same deal with the zoning map. The good thing about these are fully compatible with all mobile devices, so you can go on with your iPad right now and pull that up and it'll work just the same. We've had a very good reception from our codes department. They all have iPads. They've been able to go out in the field if they find, let's say it's a nuisance, they find some type of house that needs to be demolished, they can look to see where it at. If it's in the city limits, what the zoning is, very quickly they've just saved it to the desktop on their tablet. Just so they don't saves them a step of having to call me in the office and trying to figure out if a particular house is in the city limits or not. So I'll turn it over to you as we go on to the.
Yeah, I think that is what, like I said, we already had out there. We had rolled this out to a couple of realtors in the area for them to be able to start using, so they could give us feedback kind of as they're seeing it. And we had to go offline one time for a few hours to make some changes to it, and we got a phone call almost immediately. It's like, what's happening? Your map's offline. We need it back. So we're already accommodating some of those things. But now we're moving into the online mapping application. That offers more tools, more layers for you to look at and view, and more people get information. This is, we feel like a great economic feature for people that are moving into the area, businesses that are looking in the area, or just residents in the area want to know where they live, want to have information about their neighbor's house or issues like that. And it offers that opportunity for someone that may be moving into the area. They can find a location in the city, click on it, and we have several different interactive tools that are available for them that they can find out if they put a 1 mile radius around their location where they'd like to live. It shows churches, schools, government facilities location, and different things like that that help them in making their decision for the future. But there's several tools on this, and Justin will kind of walk through each tool right quickly and show you how they operate.
Really, can I just interject really quick? Just one thing I wanted to point out. Right now in the upstate area, there are only 2 other cities that have online GIS capabilities. One of them is the city of Greenville, which is obviously the largest one in the area, and the city of Greenwood. Other than that, pretty much no other city has this capability right now. So we're in good company, I'd say, with having online GIS available for the citizens straight through us. So do you want to leave? You want me to go ahead?
Go ahead.
All right, well, I'll just do a brief overview. I know I've showed you all this before, so a lot of this stuff will be familiar. We have added some new tools to this, some new data. Obviously over here when you first started up, it just defaults with your city limits and GSP environs, just like with the other ones. If you double click here, it will give you all of your data. As you can see, there's a lot more data in here. We have address points, streets, parks, hydrological data, parcels, zoning, you have your city council districts. So that will just pop right on there. It's very fast. It's responsive. If you've ever used the county's GIS services before, it's an older mapping service, and sometimes it can go very, very slowly. This right here it's very snappy, and it works really well.
This, like your council districts, this will take you down to the level that you would be able to see the actual parcel by parcel, who's in your district, and who isn't. Or they can find you by being able to zoom in and figure out whose district they do live in. So we thought you'd really like this feature too, that.
And just for the sake of continuity, if you remember when we were doing redistricting a few years ago, we kind of came up with the color scheme. This is consistent with that color scheme we used then. The map that's downstairs, this is the same color scheme on there, so it's consistent across all physical hard copies in-house and the digital one online. Excuse me. Just some other general layers, annexation, schools, subdivisions, churches, just about anything that you can think of, we have it on there. And of course, if there's anything else that y'all would like to add to this, if you ever have an idea of something you want to see, it's really not a problem for me to create something and put it on there. Of course, just like with the other one, you can choose your base maps. The one that most people are going to want is just going to be your satellite imagery. This is provided by Esri, which is the company that makes the software. It's maybe about a year or two old. It's about 2012, 2013. It's relatively new, but it just kind of gives you a good idea. It gets you a different view than just a regular base map. You have your legend. It automatically updates as you add in new layers. It will automatically, let's turn on zoning, for example. Turn off city council. It'll automatically update it. So now if you look at this red here, that's C2 commercial. That's what zoning is. You can click on it with just your mouse. You can pan over to it, and it'll tell you the year that it was last zoned. That right there was from 1979, so there hasn't been any recent action on that particular property. A lot of that is just kind of very straightforward, standard, GIS operations. Up here, as you can see, is where the tools are. Go away. So here you can search by parcel. So you can just do this really quickly. Hit it in there, and it'll zoom you right over there. The example that I have here is just for the parcel of City Hall. Of course, it'll highlight it, give you the information, that type of thing. Or if you'd rather search by owner, you can stick that in there. And there are 67 parcels in this area that are owned by somebody with Dillard in their name. So they own a lot of land. And of course, you can scroll through and click, and it'll zoom you right to each one. Again, it's really snappy. I have this tool named Parcel Search because most of the time people either want to search by address or by parcel. However, if you want to search to try to find a street, if is the street in the city limits or not, you can search by that. Or if you just want to find a particular subdivision, same type of deal. You can just hit that, and I typed in chart, and it'll return any feature that has that string of characters in it. So it picked up Chartwell Estates down off of, and the townhouses there as well. That's pretty standard feature. The next tool is one that y'all haven't seen. This is a tool that I actually created myself. A lot of these tools are either ones that came with the program or other developers online have put out there that I've downloaded and added in there. This is actually a tool that I've created myself. We just put it on there, maybe a week ago? Yeah. It's maybe not even that long. Essentially what this allows somebody to...
That's why Justin's hair is thin.
Yes.
Over the past couple of weeks, he's really been going at this program here.
So essentially what this does is we call it the Find Community Information Tool. So what you do is you just select this button and you put a point on the map and you hit submit. It does a lot in the background, so sometimes it'll take about 15 or 20 seconds to execute. What it'll do is it'll create a 1 mile diameter around that point, and it'll select any pertinent community information that falls within that that diameter. So in this area here, the first thing it'll show you is the representative for that property. So this right here is Councilwoman Booker's. It'll show you, District 3, and then here's the representative name right there. As you scroll down, in this area there aren't any churches. This is Chartwell Estates, and if you're familiar with that area, it's pretty much strictly homes down there. There's not really a lot in that area. It'll return schools if there's around there, parks. Let's go to a better area. This isn't a bunch of emptiness here because there's just houses down there. And as you can see, obviously, like I said, it'll also return the subdivisions in the area. And as you can see, there's quite a bit in just a small area down there. So it's just something, if somebody's interested in moving here, saying, hey, I'm kind of looking at this house, where can I go to church? Where are my kids going to go to school? Who's my council representative? It's just a quick little easy tool just to return some information about the area. Let's see, this is still thinking.
How is this information upgraded?
Updated? I do it myself. Essentially, I'm glad you asked that. This right here is, we've been training people here in City Hall, trying to say, go to this one, don't go to the county. This is the most up-to-date data for Greer that is out there. Essentially, what happens, for example, when Tammy set out the new annexations that just passed just a few weeks ago, I updated mine on my desktop downstairs, and within probably less than 10 minutes, it was updated on here. So whenever I get new information for data, especially if it's something big like a rezoning, annexation, something like that, it's as soon as I get it on my master copy downstairs, I then update it on here. For something like address points, I usually do that weekly. As I get permits in, I put new addresses in online, and about every week I'll update the address points. So this, when it's out here, it's identical to what I have on my system downstairs.
What about your real property information? Where does it come from?
That comes from the county. The parcel data here, both counties keep up their own parcel data set, and luckily they pass that information on to us. I get updates. I will usually send a request about once or twice a month to get property information on there. We're trying to work out a way to where I can tap into their server and just pull it on there, and it'll just update when they do it, but we haven't really worked out the kinks yet, but that's kind of where we're hoping to go in the future.
So if I'm from out of town and I'm looking at the city's website, how do I know that I can use this service? I mean, is there something on the city's website that'll point me?
That's
Not
what
yet.
we're working with.
Hopefully
Steve.
tomorrow.
Yeah, we're working with Steve Owens Communications. He'll be applying that to our website. And, but we didn't want anybody using it yet, so you guys have an opportunity to look at it. So, hopefully tomorrow, we will be rolling that out, and it will be prominent on the front of the webpage, so you'll know where to go and find it.
And obviously you can see the tool finished here, so let's see if there's a little more. So there you get an idea. There's six, actually there's more than that. There's 7 churches within this little area. This looks like south of Poinsett. You got your churches, has parks, so there it shows the different city parks that are in that area, Turner Park, Greer City Stadium, etc. There's your government facilities, so it picked up the operations centers off of Pennsylvania Avenue. Just some general information about the community. Moving on, another one I'm not sure if this was on here the last time I showed y'all. It could have been, I'm not. Yeah, this right here is Google Street View. I'm sure most people in here have used that before, but this right here is right in the online GIS system. So yeah, you don't have to exit out. If you want to get a good street view of what you're looking at, you can just drop it on there, and as you see, if you look here on the map, the little guy is on there, and as you go, he'll move down the map with you as you scroll down. So again, I know Glenn actually uses this a lot. He uses it when preparing some files and stuff. Instead of having to actually manually go out and take pictures, you can just go on here, get the street view, and throw it right into his presentation. So he was actually the one that requested me to put this on there. So this was yes. The next tool is actually, you can go here, and then there's also a box up here. This is how you find an address. It's very simple. Just street Greer. I think I didn't spell that correctly. I can't tell. This tiny little keyboard here with my big fat fingers. So when you put it in, generally you want to put in Greer, South Carolina, because if you just put in like 100 Main Street, it'll take you to like New York City because it searches the entire country. So usually just put in Greer, South Carolina, and it'll take you there. You can click on it, and it'll highlight it, and it'll take you into where it's at. So if you don't know the parcel number, if you just know the address, it'll get you pretty close. Let's see. Bookmarks. This is just kind of highlights the 3 main government facilities. Have City Hall, police, fire, and court, and then the operations center. If you really need to, you can always add your own. I mean, you can just scroll someplace, type something in, and then whenever you pan away, it'll remember and it'll go back to that view. It's relatively simple. Here, again, you have your legend, which is this right here. That defaults on. I mean, you can always exit out if you don't want it. And all you got to do is just, that's not what I wanted. Click that back on and it'll just pop up. All the different tools, you can close them down, move them around to get them out of the way if you want to look at something, so they're not static right in your face and blocking data.
A lot of them doesn't have that feature where you're able to move the legend, you have to move the map, so we made it where, there where you can move that out of your way. See what you're doing.
Next feature is just a little point buffer. This is very simple. It's not doing any analysis, but you can just put, if you really need to try to figure out how far you are, you know, we can do 100 feet, just something small, and it'll put a little buffer around there. You know, pretty straightforward. It's not going to be selecting anything like this other tool that I made, but it's there if you need it. And along similar lines with that is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
On the buffers, if you're having chickens in your backyard, we do require that they be a certain distance away, so that they will apply a buffer to that, and we'll use that tool also. And applying that, we use it for, if they have more than 4 dogs, I believe it is, they have to have a kennel, and it has to meet certain spacing requirements, so we're easily go in and put in a buffer point, make it what we want it, and show that customer, the citizens that's before us, that, yeah, here's where it can go, here's where it can't go. So it makes it, it's very intuitive tool, or someone could use it on their own also.
Really, the last 2 tools are very just, this right here is just a little draw tool. You can go on here and blah, yay, you know, do something like that. Although there is one very cool aspect of this is you can use it to do measurements. So let me go into this. This is 105, whatever that is, Beverly, it looks like. I can go in there and I'll do it with this. If you just click this right here that says show measurements, let's see, we can do square feet, and you can go in here and it'll automatically give you an area and perimeter of that. Approximate, I think it has, I want to say sub-meter accuracy. It's not survey grade or anything like that, but it'll give you a rough idea of the square footage, the perimeter of whatever you do. And of course, you can do that with a line as well. Just hit the line, do the same thing. It'll say this is a 10-foot line, 100-mile line.
I think that's a good tool also. You can do the draw if you want to do a planned route for walking every day and knowing how far you walk. You can plan your route on here, and it'll calculate the distance that you walk to get back home. So you'll know where you're going, know how far you've walked, and then you can time yourself and see what you've accomplished. So I think that's a very good feature. And again, we get a tremendous amount of calls from people wanting to know how big is my lot, those type of things. So we can give it to them in square footage, we can give it to them in acreage, a lot of different information like that. So it's a very good tool.
The last thing is just the print feature. We're not hooked up to a printer here, but if you wanted to print a map out, you just hit that. You can specify a title and what it shows, and it'll print it out. That's kind of the general. One other thing I want to point out, generally if you're searching an address, I personally prefer using this little box up here, because as you type it in, sometimes it's a little, it'll actually do an autocomplete for you. So it'll start giving you different addresses. As you can see, like I said, it searches everywhere, so we can go to Penn Drive in Michigan. I don't know if anybody's ever been there, but I mean, if I click that, I mean, it'll take me to Michigan. Now I'm in Michigan. You know? So it's just kind of cool, you know, an autocomplete. That's kind of the general overview over here. It's kind of hard to see because it's transparent. Unless you're over it, you have your little navigation. So if you ever want to return to the default extent, just click this little globe in the middle and it'll take you there. And you have your, you know, your zoom and your pan and that type of thing there. Other than that, that's pretty much a general overview. I know a lot of this you've seen before. There's some new things on there. Glenn, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is a tool that we use daily. We have all or most of our employees downstairs using this tool. They find it very beneficial because it is accurate. Our accuracy on annexation, city boundaries, and addresses, we think is in the 95 to 100% correct. Parcel data as far as ownership, we have to rely on the counties for that type data. So it is as correct as theirs within a couple of weeks.
And it's generally pretty correct. I find some discrepancies every once in a while, and I'll usually get on the phone and talk with them, but for the most part, they stay on it, so.
Yeah, and we strongly encourage you that if you see features that you like or don't like, let us know. We'll be glad to try to make modifications to it. Or if you see an error, if you notice there's an error, let us know so we can go in and make those corrections and modifications. But again, we want to thank you for affording us the opportunity to do this.
So I have one more thing I forgot to mention. This right here only works on PCs. This one right here, this is, I'll try not to get too technical. This right here is a Flash-based application that does not work on Apple products. However, what I have done, and hopefully I can navigate, that's not what I wanted. Where is it at? Here it is. I have made a similar program in JavaScript that has all the same data over here, and this will also be posted live on the website as well with this other link. This right here is in JavaScript. It is what is known as device agnostic. It can run on Android, Apple, PC, whatever. There's some trade-offs. This doesn't have as many tools as the other one. However, this can run on mobile devices, whereas the other one has more tools, but you're not going to get that on mobile. So we'll probably, again, we're working with Steve, we're going to try to advertise this as a Mac/mobile viewer, and then the other one just as a desktop PC viewer.
We thank Israel too, who is the developer of the software for this program, and it's a national program, or worldwide program that's used everywhere Israel is. And hopefully soon they will be updating software and stuff that will make it more compatible with mobile uses as it goes forward. But again, we thank you that you've afforded us the opportunities to go in and develop these packages and make this something that the city can use and be proud of, and that residents can be proud of. I know a lot of times before I go on vacations, I like to see where I'm going, and I go to these areas on their GIS systems or Google Maps and look at where I'm going. And hopefully this will drive a lot of that business our way, that they can see where they're at and who to contact and things like that. But it's going to be a big help for developers, real estate professionals, and those kind that call us on a daily basis saying, I don't see a map online, what can you tell me about?
Every day. My phone, every day people call me and ask me that. This is the latest and greatest. There is nothing that is more advanced than this. And like I said, right now, only the city of Greenville and Greenwood are the only two cities that have this capability. So I'd say we're in good company right now.
That's all
That's
right.
awesome.
Very good.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks for your time.
As we're transitioning, I will share, you may recall it hasn't been that many years ago that we relied completely on the Council of Governments over in Greenville for mapping services. We tried to get a little more detailed mapping through Greer CPW. They were a great partner of ours, and they assisted us for quite some time. And if you've been particularly attentive to some of our offices, then you know we did our own mapping with colored pencils on a large wall map, and if we added an area or we rezoned, we would literally pencil that in on the wall map in the planning office.
Crayons.
Yeah, with crayons. So we've come a long way, but it was certainly an area of improvement that we needed to make, and as Glenn was alluding to, when we thank you for making those resources available to us, that's really what we mean, is that through the budget process, this is a capability that we now have that we have not always enjoyed. And it's good for us to allow your staff to do the job that they are tasked and challenged to do, but it is also a great tool for our community. And we believe that we'll see great uses out of it as we continue to move forward.
Thank you as well for making me feel totally inept at IT matters.
I second that.
I feel like I'm 100 years old. Justin, I'm still going to call you, buddy. It's going to take me a whole lot less time to call you and ask you if the property's inside the city. So, You just take my calls. All right.
That's it. We still use the technique of asking folks what does their garbage can say.
Yeah. Well, with that then, we'll move to financial matters, and Mr. Seifert has our financial report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'm pleased to bring to you the financial summary for month end June 30th, 2014. For that period, we have general fund revenue recorded of $19,566,507, with general fund expenditures of $17,792,785. That is 4% under budget. Referencing the dashboards, we have a positive revenue benchmark variance of $1,023,104 and a positive expenditure variance of $750,618. Those two added together gives us a positive variance of $1,773,723. For the period, for ending June 30th, 2014, we have a cash balance of $7,420,439. Moving to the hospitality fund, we have revenue recorded of $1,596,737. That is 7% over budget. So it's indicative of the economy improving in Greer. We have a 7% increase over budget for the hospitality industry. For June 30th, we have a cash balance of $429,926. And then finally, moving to the stormwater fund, we have revenue recorded of $645,633. That is right on budget. And then there's a cash balance there at June 30th of $872,833. Now, what is important looking at these numbers is realizing that this is June month end, that is our fiscal year end, and as we move forward and when we bring the audit to you later in the year, these numbers will change. The June month end is our operation ending for that month, and then as we move to the financial statements, we have to change our accounting structure and then move to an accrual basis. So this means we have to do a lot of adjustments, so these numbers will change. You see there, the variance there is $1.7 million. So we have a very good year ending for 2014. But after our adjustments, we're anticipating somewhere between $1 million to $1.5 million being posted to the fund balance. So a very good year for us.
Great. Council? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Got one more presentation, the Greer Station parking website. Kyle Mensing, who is the Commercial Development Director with the Greer Development Corporation, is going to give us an overview of their handiwork as well, too. And so we look forward to the presentation. Kyle, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I guess it's kind of a map-themed time here tonight, web maps and everything. I'm here to talk about our very new and very exciting Greer Station parking website. I'm going to start with some less exciting numbers to kind of give you an idea of how we got here and why we thought it was a good idea. Last summer, I think just about a year ago now, we undertook a parking study to better understand the parking we have available downtown. In that study, we found we have 685 free public parking spaces that are available at all times. And then after business hours, which we turn around 5:30, we add another 440 parking spaces to that list. So a good amount of parking within walking distance of downtown. And then once you account for the individuals working in Greer Station during the day, we're still left with around 300 available public parking spaces in the downtown. And that's if every reported person that works down here showed up at the same time to use the public parking spaces. We would still have 300 parking spaces left. So this made us realize we have a great supply of parking. The problem is helping people locate it, find it, realize we have the parking. Thankfully, we've got a downtown where Trade Street fills up very quickly with cars. It's the gift and the curse of it. People are coming here, but if people don't really know where to find parking and they drive through, they think Trade Street's full. So we wanted to figure out a way to better show people where they can find everything and show them the wealth of parking we have around here so they can visit businesses down here. And we thought, what better way than using the amazing technology we have now, where this is a lot more available now. We don't have wall maps with crayons and pencils. We have technology that'll tell you exactly where you are. So we wanted to turn this information we harnessed into a service to better serve the people coming downtown. This was what we were using before this new site that I will be launching momentarily. It gives the information, but it doesn't give a lot of information. You don't know how big these parking lots are. You can kind of guess based on size. Some of the information is outdated, and generally it's a little overwhelming. There's a lot of color. There's a lot of different information presented. This came with a full-page list of vendors corresponding to the numbered buildings. So it's kind of information overload, which can be handy, but if you're driving around trying to find parking, this probably isn't the friendliest way to do it. So we've changed it now, and you can access it from mobile at greerstation.com/parking. Very special thanks to our intern Austin Canfield and to Justin for giving us a lot of information to make this possible. So if you were to go to greerstation.com/parking, you would see this map. And I encourage anyone with phones that wants to try this out, go ahead, I won't be offended. When you interact with the map, you can click on the lots. They will tell you how many spaces are available in the lot, what the lot name is, if it's available 24 hours a day, if it's after hours. The after hours lots will not show up on the map until after 5:30 p.m. and they will be a different color so that if you're driving through at noon trying to find a space for lunch, you can't accidentally end up in what is a private lot while business hours are going on. When you click on the lot, along with the information, if you have let it access your location services, which most phones have on by default, and it's what allows you to use GPS, you can click and get driving directions from your current location. You will have a blue dot on the map. It's all based off of Google Maps, so it should look very familiar when you're in there. You'll have a blue dot that shows you where you are. You click on driving directions, and it'll give you turn by turn. No nice, soothing voice to tell you how to get there, but some turn by turn directions that'll help you get where you need to go. And again, you need to make sure you have location services on. You'll know if you do very quickly when you open the site, you'll be prompted to share your location. Sharing your location shares the GPS data that allows us to do this. If you don't get that prompt, you've either been there before or you don't have location services on, and check within your settings to turn those on if you want directions. And we think this is a benefit not just for parking normally, but the fact that, like with after hours lots, we can time sensitive when a material appears. We can change it so that during events such as the upcoming sweep relief, we can notice where road closures are and tell people that their parking lot is there normally, but it's not available because the roads to it are closed for an event. So they need to find other areas around the event. So we can help people that may come down either for an event or not realizing there's an event to find parking around the road closures. So we think it's really going to improve the way we can serve the community before you either went to the website and we would kind of tell people where it was closed but it wouldn't be on the map, or they would call into the parking hotline and you'd listen to someone read off a voicemail that would tell you everything is closed. And if you're like me with automated prompts and voicemails and lists of information, by the time you get to the fourth item, you've forgotten what the first item was. So this should really help improve the downtown experience for everyone, whether it's after hours, lunchtime, during an event. We really think it's going to be a nice way to serve the greater Greer community, and it's available mobile, desktop, pretty much anything you can get on the internet with and check out. So we really hope that it serves the community well and continues to make Greer Station a great place to come hang out. Any questions?
Council?
The names of businesses listed on here, is that members of Greer Station or members of...
On the Greer Station website?
Yeah.
Yes, they are contributors to the Greer Station Association. We haven't currently done anything with the map because with the parking map, we really wanted the focus to be on finding parking and not overwhelming with information. We have separate maps online that'll list where everything's located.
Great. I mean, this is almost overwhelming. I mean, I just realized I can't use my PC and now I can't use my phone.
It's like high tech night.
I didn't plan it this way, so don't blame me.
We just need to gather a lot of telephone numbers, so
We really do appreciate it, Kyle. It's you know, it's a perception issue that we continuously battle, and this is the perfect way of addressing that. We thank you and the staff for putting that together, and the folks at Trade Street Association for their patience and understanding as we have worked hard to put this together, and I think it's going to be a huge benefit to us. So pass our thanks along to everybody involved.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Well, with that, then we're going to move to the administrator's report. So, Mr. Driggers. top that.
I feel challenged. Well, to continue our theme of technology, I do want to highlight one of the departmental reports that's contained within your package, and we thought this would be a good month to do that. I do call to your attention our website report that's contained within your package. It's the under item H there, website activity report for June 2014. I just want to highlight where we are really recognizing visitors to our website and the amount of activity that we are having to that site. If you'll look at that report, or if you'll notice that visitors to our site, www.cityofgreer.org, in the month of June, 26,624 visits to that site from 59 countries. We are mainly being sought through search engines. 69.1% of all of those folks that are finding us on the web are locating us through search engines, some through direct traffic, and some through referral or social media as well. But again, 69.1 through search engines. We recognize why it's important for us to be discoverable and found through those search engines, and you can find us through a number of those. Of particular attention, I wanted to point out that the average time per session, when folks come to our website, you can see that they're spending 2 minutes and 16 seconds on average on our site. They are typically looking at 2.76 pages, so they're spending time on our site and they're gathering information from that. But the number of pages viewed during this past month, during the month of June, 73,545 pages that someone went to from those 59 countries, and they spent time learning and looking and discovering more about us as a community. I bring this report to your attention this evening because I really did think that when we talk about the technology that we use relative to our GIS system, we look at the technologies that are available to us with an app locating on our smartphone devices when we're looking for a parking space, and as we introduced to you a few meetings ago, and that we'll be going live with shortly through Greer Connect, an app that will enable our citizens and visitors to our community to ask questions and report issues and concerns directly to us through their smartphone devices. What we are discovering, what we certainly are learning and we're recognizing and we're knowing, is that the technologies that are available to our community are more and more being used. And as our community continues to use those technologies more and more, it is essential for us to be in a position that we are informed and are using those as well. We have said for a number of years, when we built this building, when we made improvements to our technologies through our systems, we have always said that the City of Greer is a leading, cutting-edge technology municipality. We returned from the Municipal Association meeting here just a couple of weeks ago. There's an emphasis on technology at that meeting, and I certainly know that as you experience that and you saw what is being done around the state, that you recognize that we truly are a leader in that area. We are often sought after for advice on what we do and how we do, and we don't do that to show off, and we don't do that to demonstrate that we have the ability. We do that because we've made a conscious decision in our community that transparency is important to us, to our constituency. It is important to us to make sure that our community is aware that if they are seeking financial information about their city, that they can easily obtain that information. If they're seeking information about our facilities, our locations, what we do, how we do things, if they're looking for copies of our minutes of our meetings, they're looking for information concerning our boards and commissions, it doesn't require that they get in the car and drive to an office and go through documents and books. They can do that from the public library. They can do that from their home. They can do that from here, where we have devices that are installed in our facility as well, so that folks can come in and they can retrieve this information. We believe very strongly, you have directed us, and we believe very strongly that it is a responsibility that we have in providing that information to our community, and we embrace that, and we're continuing to find new ways to do that. So we're always looking for guidance and information from you as well, but we wanted to share this information with you this evening about how we are moving forward in that area. A couple other things that we have going on that we certainly wanted to make you aware of. You'll notice, or you may have noticed through some of our media sources in the community, that our Planning Commission and our staff are continuing to work on the container ordinance. This is something that you've asked us to spend some time and effort on. That has been happening in the Planning Department. It has now gone to our Planning Commission. They've taken some action on that, and we're anticipating that at your next meeting as well. So wanted you to be aware that that is continuing to move forward. Of note, we wanted you to be aware that our police department just finished this summer's junior CSI camp. That is a very popular event. It books out very quickly. It's a wonderful opportunity for our police department to interact with young people in our community about the operations of our department and how we investigate crime here in our own community. I do want to make sure that you are aware we did post to our websites effective with the passage of our new budget. All of that budget information is contained on our website, contained through the internet, but we do still print our budgets. And so our printed budget is available for you in your mailbox here at City Hall. We have printed copies of that budget. We provide those in all of our offices. It is made available to all of our employees, and we also place those documents in public places like the library as well. Again, trying to make sure that our community has access to that information and is easily accessible to them and readily available to them. But those budgets are published and are now available to our community. I refer you to some of our website information or to our television station for information concerning our summer schedules. We continue our Thursday night movie series. We continue Greer Idol. We continue Tunes on Trade. Tunes in the Park. There is a lot of activity that's happening here over the summer. There's opportunities for you to enjoy, and there's opportunities for our community to enjoy. So we look forward to seeing you out and about at several of those events. We do want to make you aware, I've asked Mr. Sell if he would come to the podium to provide some additional information. I want to make sure that we are all aware that we have final resolution concerning the case concerning Mr. Garrick Good. Mr. Good is the individual that was involved in purchasing the Allen Bennett Memorial Hospital property from us originally. As you are aware, when that purchase was made, there was a pledge made. We did a promissory note concerning how that property we would be compensated for that property. As you are aware, we filed criminal charges against Mr. Good concerning that matter. It has now gone to circuit court, and there is resolution concerning that issue. I asked Mr. Sell to attend the hearing. We were afforded an opportunity to address the court. We did that, as well as we have asked for restitution concerning the charges and the conviction for Mr. Good. Mr. Sell, if you could give us some background on that.
Fascinating day at court. I was there the day they were handling the case in regards to the gentleman that drugged the dog. And so the courtroom was packed, and there was a lot going on, and we had this case going on at the same time. So I was able to, earlier in the day, to meet with the folks in the solicitor's office and the assistant solicitor to discuss what their outlook on how they thought that the hearing would go, and to get our input in regards to what we were looking for. And of course, I made sure that they understood that our primary interest was making sure we protected the interest of our residents, for the asset and the damage that was done in this process. They shared with me what they thought that they would see the judge in the hearing would take a look at in ruling on the case, and what they thought that they could get out of it when we came to some agreements. What we wanted to see, obviously, first and foremost, was restitution for the damages done to the property. And then also to, they asked in regards to what type of any other things that we wanted to see. And we discussed with them the possibility, of course, obviously, there would be some probation involved, some supervised probation, but also some in-house incarceration. Mm-hmm. So they took that information, and that's what they brought before the judge, given an opportunity to be able to speak during the hearing, express those same sentiments, thank the solicitor's office for their hard work on this particular case. We were successful through the, obviously, as part of the case, this was heard by the grand jury. They were able to secure 4 indictments against Mr. Good. Those indictments involved breach of trust and fraud in excess of amounts of $10,000 and more. The judge ruled in our favor with all 4 counts as part of a plea through Mr. Good, through confessions of guilt, that he would provide restitution to the city in amounts over $10,000, and the judge also indicated that there would be supervised probation for Mr. Good for a period of 6 months. His activities must be reported to his probationary officers about where he's going. They did not elect to do any in-house incarceration, though. At this point, what we are waiting for now is over the next 6 months, at some point, they will schedule an additional hearing for us to sit down and determine what the exact amount of restitution would be to the city. The good thing is that with this ruling, that if Mr. Good files any type of income tax returns, until whatever the settled amount is in the future, that money will come to us as a payment and to the other parties that were involved in the case as well, so other individuals that were involved in this project. So talking with the solicitor afterwards, they felt good about it, we felt good about it, because as we said, our ultimate goal was to get restitution for the damages done to the property. I'd be glad to try to answer any questions that you might have.
Counsel? Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very good. In conclusion, I would ask council's consideration of 2 items in executive session. Both of those are contractual concerning a potential acquisition of property by the city.
Thank you, sir. With that, then, we will move on to appointments of boards and commissions you have before you this evening. The Board of Zoning Appeals, we have a representative from District 4, Mickey Montgomery, has resigned effective July 9, 2014. His term was to expire June 30th of 2015. And in District 6, Kevin Tumlin has resigned effective July 9th. His term expires December the 31st. We'll accept the resignations. Do we have anybody to nominate from District 4?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to nominate Kevin Duncan tonight. Many of you will remember his dad and grandfather who ran Tom Duncan Pontiac in Greer for years, and Kevin is clearly involved in the community. You see him involved in the chamber quite a bit, and he's a community banker here with Greer State. Recently moved into my district, and I think he'd make a great addition to the Board of Zoning and Appeals. And you'll remember from last week, Mickey Montgomery, who went off that board, is now in the Planning Commission for District 4.
All right, we'll entertain that as a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further questions or comments in that regard? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Ms. Booker.
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Ms. Albert. Yes. Mayor Danner.
Yes. From District 6?
No, I do not have anyone at this point. I am working on that, and I should have that by the next council meeting.
Good, thank you. We'll move then to items of old business, of which we only have one this evening. It's the second and final reading of ordinance number 18-2014. This is an ordinance to amend the City of Greer zoning code of ordinance by repealing Article 5, Section 512, flood prevention in its entirety, and amending the City of Greer code of ordinance by repealing and replacing Chapter 35, flood damage prevention in its entirety, and replacing it with the following. Mr. Pace?
Again, Mayor and Council, as I spoke to you before, that we did notice that the flood damage prevention ordinance was in 2 publications in the zoning ordinance and in the city code, and we've modified the ordinance this time, or amended it to include repeal of Article 5, Section 512 from the zoning ordinance, also to wrap that up, sir. Thank you.
Council, this comes as the second and final reading. Do hear a motion to receive?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Floor is open for discussions, questions, comments. Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Campbell.
Thank you, sir. In items of new business this evening, we have the first and final reading of Resolution 9, 2014. This is a resolution authorizing a lease purchase agreement, Series 2014, in the principal amount of not exceeding $841,495 relating to the financing of various items of equipment for municipal purposes, authorizing the execution and delivery of various documents, including the lease agreement and other matters relating thereto. Mr. Seifert?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is one of our standard agreements that we do each year as we come out of the budget process. This resolution authorizes the release and acceptance of financing for purchasing of our capital assets that were approved during the 2015 budget process. The dates that are scheduled right now are the proposals will be due Thursday, August 7th. We will be signing documents on Tuesday, August 19th, and then the funds will become available to the city for use in purchasing of those assets Thursday, August the 21st. I'd be happy to take any questions you may have on that.
Council will entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion or questions of Mr. Seifert. Comments? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, we have the first reading of ordinance number 19-2014. This is an ordinance calling for a referendum to determine whether the South Carolina Department of Revenue may issue temporary permits in the city of Greer to allow for the sale of beer or wine for off-premises consumption without regard to the day or hours of sale. I'll entertain a motion to receive for the purpose of discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Bettis, you've requested this action.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for starters, council should know that I don't really have a dog in this fight. You could probably take all the beer I drink in a year and put it in a gallon jug and have room left over. But I do know a lot of people that shop on Sundays in the city of Greenville. That's revenue that we're losing. And that's where I come from the economic development side of my brain. In conjunction with Reno Deaton, our economic development head, we look at it as an opportunity. We're always looking for ways to benefit businesses in the city. And this is a way to recoup some revenue for them and possibly generate a fair amount of new revenue. And to me, this could potentially be an offset in the future to allow us to lower some millage that would be offset by funds coming in with fees and taxes and whatnot. That's the gist of this. And Reno, if you'd like to come forward and elaborate on that, he knows all the nuts and bolts behind this and why it's a good time to strike while the iron is hot. So I'll let him tell you.
Mr. Bettis, thank you. Mayor and Council, thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to join you this evening. Councilman Bettis, thank you so much for the opportunity to make this opportunity possible. As chair of the Greer Development Corporation, we really appreciate it. Really part of the process of economic development is sort of continually evaluating the tools in our toolbox, especially as it pertains to commercial development. We try to make sure that we're focusing on infill development, make sure that we're focusing on providing the tools for our existing businesses to reach their full potential, to hire as many employees as they possibly can, to make sure that we are meeting the quality of life needs of our growing community, and certainly to make sure that we're clear in what differentiates us from our competitors, gives us competitive advantage. Throughout the course of the last several years, some of our prospects and leads have asked us whether or not Greer might consider the opportunity to put before the voters of Greer a consideration as to whether or not expanded Sunday alcohol sales is appropriate in this community. And certainly, so I thank you so much for the opportunity to come tonight and put that request before you. We certainly find ourselves in a very interesting time here in this community. Both of our county councils have opted to place ballot referendums before the voters in our respective counties. Greenville County, the issue being whether or not to use some dollars to make road improvements, and Spartanburg County, the issue being whether or not to allow for Sunday alcohol sales in Spartanburg County. We're also in this community going through a process of community master planning, where we've hired some consultants to come in and ask the public a number of questions directly about how we should grow and where we should grow in this community. And so it would seem that the time now is perhaps right to put before the voters of Greer this question as to whether or not it is appropriate in Greer, and again, whether or not it is appropriate in Greer to consider the sale of alcohol for off-premises consumption on Sundays. And again, I don't offer any opinion one way or another as to the ultimate issue of whether that's appropriate or not, and certainly those opinions will vary amongst our community. And it'll really be up to them to sort of ferret out the advantages and disadvantages of either side of that issue. The only question as to whether is, again, whether or not to put before the voters of Greer the opportunity to decide whether or not that is appropriate for this community. And that's the other request for council this evening.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, the only other thing I would add is that this council taught me that it's never wrong to put the vote in front of the people with that 1% sales tax for the road. So I'm convinced that that's the way to do it, especially on a controversial issue.
Floor is open for discussion.
Now, on these sales, would this be where it says for off-premise consumption without regard to days or hours of sale? Is that still primarily the way it's handled now for Monday or Monday through Saturday sales? I mean, is that the same reading?
Mike, you did
Yes,
a lot of
ma'am, it is.
research.
It basically just adds Sunday to that.
Yeah, okay. So basically it...
You can do on Sunday what you can
what
do
you can
Monday
on
through
Monday
Saturday.
Correct.
Okay, okay.
And this is just obviously for just beer and wine. It's not for liquors. State does not allow liquor sales on Sunday in the charitable pool.
Okay. So the off-premise consumption without regard to days or hours of sale is the same as it is on regular weekdays?
Correct.
Others?
It's just part of the discussion. I knew this was coming up, and I've thought about it, and I've got a list of pros and a list of cons, and they're all equal, so I still haven't made up my mind. I will say that tonight my vote will be yes. That does not indicate how I will vote on the second reading. If there's individuals out there who have help with me deciding, who would like to give me more information, I'm very open for that. There are economic issues, pros and cons. There are social issues, pros and cons, and then there is the matter of the voters deciding. So, and I know that that's what this is what this is all about, is do we allow the voters to decide? So, that being said, I will vote yes tonight, but that's not an indication of how I will vote in 2 weeks.
Others? Any additional thoughts or comments in regards to ordinance 19-2014? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
No.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, in executive session, we've got 2 items to consider this evening. They are both contractual matters. Do I hear a motion to adjourn into executive session?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second in that regard. Motion and a second. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Ms. Bookert.
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, in executive session, we've considered 2 economic development matters. We've taken no action in regards, excuse me. In executive session, we have considered 2 contractual matters and taken no action in regards to either one. Do I hear a motion to adjourn from executive session?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Ms. Bookert.
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, we stand adjourned.